5-minute penalty to Chicago, a game misconduct, and then Manson having words with Steven. And now Butcher gets into it. We're going to have a brawl, folks. Stand by.
What's going on, everyone? Tyler Cash here. It's been some time, but it is another episode of Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast. I'm chilling here in my apartment in Las Vegas, Nevada, enjoying a Whitney and Sprite out of one of my new Schlafly cups.
Love it.
Talking to my boy Tommy. How you doing, bud?
Good. Is it Nevada or is it Nevada? That's the real question.
No, you have to say Nevada.
Nevada or Nevada?
No, I think it's Nevada. Like, you have to sound like basically you're from the East Coast when you say it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Nevada sounds like farty far kind of logic.
Yeah, but they make sure they advertise it everywhere. But we've had one episode. We dropped a recent interview that we did with AJ Galante from the Danbury Trashers. That was our last episode. If you haven't checked it out, please go back and do that, because it actually wound up being a beauty. Like so much fun. We recorded that last year. It's been quite some time.
Crazy to think.
Still relevant. We talked about some of our favorite enforcers and his time when he was running that team in the Netflix documentary, of course. So go back and check that out. But first thing we should talk about is All-Star Weekend. I attended it. It was a blast, and also competed in the Chicklets Cup and proposed to my girlfriend. So I'm now engaged. A lot went down.
Congrats.
Thank you. Lots of Pink Whitney was consumed, lots of beverages. It was great. My team didn't do so hot. We went 0-4.
Rough.
Yeah.
Rough.
The St. Louis Booze showing up in prime form, that's for sure. My boys from St. Louis came in, my roller team that I've had for many years. And we just couldn't get it together. I think it was some rough surface out there. They didn't have any sport court, and it took place outside the Strat, which if you ever been on the Strip in Las Vegas,
is it that like Bonanza Plaza? Or is it right by there, like that big Bonanza? Is that the same one, or like right behind it? Or
yeah, I think it's right there. It's right across from the Strat, which okay. I mean, the Strat's actually a nice hotel and casino. It's great. Like, the area has got a lot of culture to it, but that parking lot, not so much. And I saw Grinelli posted on Twitter that their upcoming Chicklets Cup that they're going to be hosting in Buffalo, New York this July, they're going to invest in sport court, which is a great choice. A great choice. I agree. But I hate to be that guy that uses as an excuse. But yeah, the pucks weren't bouncing our way. Let's put it that way. But it was fun weekend. Went to both the skills competition and the All-Star game. The Metropolitan took it. We won't spend a lot of time on the ins and outs of that, because by now you guys probably have watched it or at least seen the updates on YouTube. But Giroux took home the MVP. Just a couple of notes. I think we both feel as if Zegras got a little gypped there for the skills competition. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Vegas had to win something in its hometown, right? Like, somebody had to win something, right? I mean, but Petrangelo missed the net twice on his breakaway challenge, which is classic Petro as a Blues fan, missing the net on like wide open opportunities. But yeah, I mean, pretty much it was every judge gave like a score like 1 to 10, and then John Hamm was one of the judges and then gave Petro a 19, an homage to him winning the cup in 2019 with the Blues, which gave him the win over both Jack Hughes, who did a pretty cool celebration, I think, with the mini Hughes little goal there. And then obviously the Zegras dodgeball blindfolded kind of crazy, phenomenal goal that he pulled off. I mean, definitely robbed. I mean, kind of cheesy. I mean, I guess that's how All-Star game or our skills competitions kind of are with the NHL, but I mean, definitely robbed without a doubt. Zegras, Hughes for sure.
They went full cheese with it, but I thought Zegras' setup, he dressed up like average Joe's Jim from dodgeball, and they blindfolded him. And rumor has it he was only supposed to be blindfolded once. He was accidentally blindfolded twice, which that makes his skill shot. Is that what that is? I guess you would call it a breakaway challenge.
Yeah, pretty much.
Makes it that much more impressive. I thought it was cool that they brought Zegras in. He wasn't one of the All-Stars, so having him involved in the weekend was key, especially since all these kids are looking up to him with the Dishigan and all this hype he's bringing to the game.
I like how I like how he went like full out, not just the average Joe's like uniform, but even did like I think he did like the LaFleur on the back too. Pete LaFleur, the guy who had the average Joe's gym and everything. So that was beautiful execution without a doubt.
Yeah, a lot of fun. They introduced two new competitions for the skills comp. Both of them at the Bellagio. They did the best of 21, like a blackjack setup where they had the cards and the players kind of shot at them. I know you and I talked about that a little bit. If they're going to continue to do something like that, I doubt it. This is more of a Vegas connection, but
Yeah.
if they were going to do it again, I would suggest that they did smaller cards. I don't know, made it a little bit more difficult because it seemed pretty easy for some of these players, wouldn't you say?
I mean, they're NHL caliber guys saucing a puck, what, 30 feet away. Like cards that are like as big as us, I feel like, I mean, come on.
Everybody
But
hit 21, right? I believe everyone advanced.
yeah, but again, it was dumb. It was like, oh, people get like King Ace, Jack Ace. Like they actually got 21. And then like I think like Brady Kachuk got like 21 and like 4 or 5 cards. Like, oh yeah, you go on too. And then they ran out of aces at the end because they didn't have people either putting cards up or didn't have enough. So then it's like, oh, whoever hits the next ace wins, even though you haven't had a chance to shoot this round. And then I forget who won it, but was it Stamkos that won it?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds
and
right.
then it's like, okay, you hit the last ace, game's over. Back to you guys. It's kind of
Yeah.
funky.
I mean, they shot it the night before, so it wasn't going on as the skills comp was going on. So I was actually there in the arena. A little strange that they broadcasted it, but I mean, that's what they had to do. They weren't going to be able to do it at the same time, bringing these players to and from the strip.
What's interesting though is like now that you bring it up is like they literally did a very similar thing with like in the Blues All-Star game where they had like all the players on a platform in the stands shoot at like basically like targets. Like, could you not have done the same thing, like from where like the night line is or whatever, and just have like big cards to try and hit? Like, I feel like that would have been way more fun, way more engaging. But again, I'm not the marketing people over there at the NHL.
That makes sense. But I guess they moved to the Bellagio to do the saucer pass ordeal
Right.
where they had the light up pucks and then they had to shoot it, which it wound up being, I think, Roman Yossi that won. And it makes sense because it's more of like a defenseman move to move the puck down the ice and have those saucer passes. I think they just wanted to utilize Bellagio a little bit more. They were already going to set up and have the guys down there, so might as well. But all in good fun. Ultimately, it was great. I thought that the All-Star games themselves were a tad bit lacking. Tom Wilson did score, I think, within like the opening 15 seconds.
Fastest goal in All-Star game history, Tom Wilson.
Oh my God. He was entertaining though. The people were booing him, and I love seeing that. It kind of reminds me back of John Scott when in Patrick Kane getting booed, and I think it's cool. It brings a little entertainment to it, almost like a WWE factor. I know we try to keep the game as pure as possible, but for All-Star Weekend, I mean, it doesn't hurt anybody to have a little entertainment, right? Especially if you're on the Strip in Las Vegas. As we said, Metropolitan went on to take it. Drew with the MVP, and when they were interviewing him, they asked him if he had any words of encouragement for Ovechkin back home because he opted out, obviously, again, this time for a positive COVID test. I mean, we have yet to see that, but they asked him if he had any words of encouragement, and he said, not really. And I thought that was great. Either he was taken back or he was just like, screw this guy. Like, I don't care. I'm the one that won this shit.
What are you supposed to say? Like,
Right.
sorry,
you feeling better?
Sorry you weren't here. I don't know. Kind of a weird question, but whatever.
What was it, like a Kia SUV that he won or something, or Toyota SUV?
Yeah, I think it was Toyota.
Yeah, he could hop in there and drive him over some popsicles for that sore throat. He's nursing.
Yeah, no
whatever
kidding.
he's doing. Yeah, he's probably somewhere on a tropical beach. He's like, oh man, I'm so sick right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
But either way, yeah, fun weekend. It was great. I want to shout out to the Barstool guys and the Chicklets dudes for helping me pop the question to my girlfriend Lo. She was completely surprised, which is just mind blowing. I brought her onto stage for the ceremonial puck drop, and I dropped down to one knee after beating Biz fair and square, whipped out the ring and did the thing. What's exciting though is Whit had no idea. So his response of like, oh shit, was like real, which is funny that he was out of the he wasn't cued in and neither was Lowe. I'm like, why on earth would they bring us up? They had celebrities there. They had Nasher there. Patrick Sharp was in the competition. We had NHL players left and right. I don't know why she would think we would do it, but it was great. It was awesome. And a funny little story I'll share before we get into the more hockey news. But the night before, there was an enrollment party at the Strat at PT's Sports Bar, and that's kind of where we picked up our jerseys and we met with the guys and signed up for the tournament officially. So I had been planning this. I bought Lo a Charlie McAvoy Boston Bruins jersey for Christmas, and all month long she was like, I can't wait to wear it All-Star weekend. It's my only chance to wear it. The Bruins are never in town. We never get to go to a game. I'm going to wear it. So I thought of a good way to get a loophole out of it. I was like, hey, look, I talked to Grinelli. He said that they can't use the logo due to likeness rights. They're going to have to blur it out. So you can't wear the Bruins jersey. You're going to have to wear one of our Booze jerseys. And she was like, oh, okay, all right. Well, at that enrollment party, she pulled Grinelli aside and was like, hey, I have a Charlie McAvoy jersey. Is it true I can't wear it? And he's like, oh, dude, go ahead. We would love to do that. You know, they're all Boston Bruins guys.
Yeah.
So of course I had to pop the question in her wearing her McAvoy jersey, but hey, at least it wasn't Marchand, right?
That's something. That's a positive way to look at it.
Yeah. Fun weekend overall, but let's talk about some current hockey.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Cash here from the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast, interrupting this week's episode to talk about one of our amazing sponsors, Schlafly Brewing Company. A staple in the St. Louis community for 30 years now, they have 4 different brew pubs located all over the metropolitan area, including downtown St. Louis, Maplewood, St. Charles, and most recently they opened a location in Highland, Illinois. From stouts and porters to lagers and IPAs, when it comes to delicious and refreshing beers, Schlafly has got you covered. Their Just a Bit Hazy IPA is an easy drinking IPA that will hit stores this February alongside their highly sought after Tasmanian IPA. If you know me, you know I enjoy a good dark beer, and their coffee stout is among some of the best I've ever tasted. If you're looking for something just a bit lighter though, their white lager is crisp and clean, as it's unfiltered and perfect for the domestic beer drinker that would like to transition to drinking more craft beers. You can download the Schlafly app on your phone to help locate and purchase their products all across the country. Be sure and follow them on Facebook and Instagram for constant new updates and information on all of their products. Schlafly beers are delicious and refreshing. Check them out. You won't regret it.
Let's start with some St. Louis Blues drama, I would say, at least a little bit amongst the fans. It seems as if there's some goalie drama. I'll let you kick it off and talk about it a little bit.
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I feel like Binnington has definitely cooled off a lot after maybe the first couple of months of the season. Husso won again tonight. He has the same amount of wins as Binnington does this year, and I think significantly less games played. I think Binnington has 24 games played. Husso has, I think, 17. Either way, I mean, the difference is astounding in stats. I mean, Husso's sub 2 goals against, like 94 save percentage. Bennington's like 3.3 goals against, like sub 90 save percentage, like 89 point something. Just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it feels eerily similar to like 2019, where Binnington just came out of nowhere and just stood on his head. And then now it's like reversed with Husso, but then Binnington just whatever, even after the break, getting his head right, taking, some time with the All-Star break and everything. And Blues had an extended break too, like an extra week off. I felt like built in there too with the way the schedule was. But yeah, I mean, he came back, played the Devils at that game, unfortunately. And Blues lost 6-3 or something, a couple empty net goals, 6-4, 7-4, something like that.
And that's against the Devils, who are kind of near the bottom of the league.
Yeah. And again, some of those goals aren't his issue. It's one of those things, just trying to watch the game objectively, where it's just watching the Blues play in front of Jordan Binnington is just a completely different team in front of than it is in front of Husso. I don't understand it. Let's there's just have more confidence in front of Husso. They know that they can make a mistake and he'll have his back later on. I guess with Bennington, they think maybe a soft goal and like, oh great, like there goes the game. I don't want to speculate on that necessarily, but it's just not the same Bennington that everyone obviously remembers. And I think he's obviously, trended downwards since the cup run. Obviously hard to top that by any means, but to even have, 20 to 30% regression from there, he'd still be a great goalie, but he's far off that right now. And then what he signed for the next, 6 years, I think, give or take. No, 5 years, I think, after this, but still, yeah, I mean, not a great spot. And then obviously Husso's a UFA coming up, making league minimum. So you're in a real tricky spot going forward.
What I'm confused about is how is Husso a UFA? Wasn't this his entry level deal? Wouldn't he be an RFA? Or how,
No.
I mean,
he's basically been bounced out of the Blues since like 2016, 2017.
Wow.
So, you have your entry level deal, and then you have like 3 years of restricted free agent rights. And then coming up on like year 7 of like pro hockey, then you have basically become a UFA at that point. So
he's due up, and he's obviously going to want to be a starter. You have Allen, or not Jake Allen. Wow. He's pulling a Jake Allen, that's for sure. Bennington, who's just not the guy during that cup run, which I know you and I speculated they might have pulled the trigger too soon, extending him that long. I think he's a great goalie. I think that he'll find his groove. And I believe his cap hit is it's under 6, correct?
It's at 6 exactly. So I mean, it's not horrible, but again, I mean, if Husso leaves, if you don't get it from the trade deadline, if he's obviously keep him and he walks after the year, obviously you really don't have much. I mean, you have Lindgren, who had, a cup of coffee, that played phenomenally. He's a UFA too. I mean, I would assume if you tell him he's going to be a backup, he's probably re-signing. Then you have Hoffer. He's only 21. He's still got a lot of time to go, I think, before he's going to even probably be a backup for us, quite honestly. But yeah, I mean, so we have 5 more years of Bennington after this year. But again, like the weirdest thing is like, even the years that he struggled the years past, like I just feel like when it's come to the playoffs, like just out of the blue, he just snaps out of it and just plays well. Like the stats don't necessarily reflect it, but like, again, going round 1 against the Avalanche with no Perron, like last year, like he made some insane saves. And like some of these games should have been like 5-goal blowouts, and they were 2-goal games, kind of respectable type stuff. And either way, I mean, you got to just roll with it. I think at this point, I mean, you could probably swing a deal to deal Husso somewhere and get something for him. But at that point, you're potentially sacrificing even making playoffs potentially with how competitive the West tends to be. So,
well, it seems that this has become more of a tandem situation as it is regardless. Husso's already gotten more starts than I would have expected him to. Granted, I believe COVID is probably involved with the protocols with that, and maybe injury as far as that happening. But yeah, if you said correctly, it was like 27 to 21 starts, almost like a dead even tandem. It's hard to think that if the playoffs started right now, you got to ride Husso. And
yeah.
if that's the case, you can't even entertain the idea of moving him. I mean, I know you brought up that a first round pick would be hard to ignore, but he could be the future of this franchise. And if you're able to lock him down for the same amount of money that you have Bennington, you're paying $12 million for 2 goalies, $11 million for 2 goalies. That's not the end of the world. There's plenty of goaltending situations across the league that you're paying that much for just one guy.
Yeah, but then when you look at our actual cap situation, you only have like, if you don't re-sign Perron, you only have $4 million coming off the books. Then you still have a couple of RFAs that are probably gonna get around $1 million that you got to sign to. The money's not there. That's the issue. Like cap's not going up, money's not there.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna have to move out, and then
I guess if you got rid of Perron though, and you maybe moved Bozak, because I think he's pending RFA, correct?
I mean, he's league minimum. It's
shit, that's right.
Yeah.
Here I was thinking it was I think he was somewhere in the ballpark of Perron, like $3 million a year.
No, yeah, he like the years before he signed the deal, literally this year. Yeah, it was like I think like $2 million, something like that. But still, we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, still a good month before trade deadline. Anything can happen. Ben could snap out of it. Husso could just go on a cold streak. The way he's playing, it's like, just look at the stats. It's just not sustainable. That's the scary part. And then if that's not sustainable, Bennington's playing bad, nothing matters really at that point.
So what would you do? Gun to your head, you got to make a move. Playoffs are starting tomorrow. Or you know what? Let's give you a little bit of time. Let's say trade deadline is this week, and you know that you got to move somebody. Either get something for Husso or you have the opportunity to move Bennington. What route are you going?
I mean, I think the only other option you have is like you got to at least talk to Husso and be like, obviously you're playing great. Like, do you want to be here? If so, how do we make this work? Get his agent involved. See if there's a way to do like a somewhat friendly 3-4 year deal. Probably unlikely. And then figure out the rest of that next season. You know, like dealing with 2 or 3 million for a backup goalie is much more manageable than 6 or 5 million at that point, which you would probably easily get on open market from somebody. I think safe to say the way he's playing, assuming it stays relatively similar. But I mean, I think at this point, like mentally, I'm like, I feel like I would, if I'm able to somehow swing a deal to get like a first round pick for him or like a recent first rounder, like prospect that might be like, you know, he's doing good, but he's not up to, you know, snuff right now. I think you got to do it. You got to bite the bullet. Bennington's the future. That's why you signed him. Husso, I mean, Bennington's got a no trade clause. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, I think that's the problem. Like, if that something like that happens, you got to do it. If you don't get an amazing deal, you keep them and write it out. Hope you can sign them. If you don't, you don't. You live with it. I think that's the simplest way to put it.
So we're going to sprinkle in a few possibilities for trade deadline rumors and where these guys might go and what teams might add. So I feel like before we move on from the St. Louis Blues, I feel like we should talk about the possibility of them looking to add defense. Seems defense has been a concern for that franchise as of late. And, you know, Shabbat, Chikrin, these are names that have been floating around. Can you see the Blues pulling the trigger on somebody like that, or more so like a rental route?
I don't see Shabbat going anywhere at all. He's still signed for like 6 more years in Ottawa, 25. You'd have to give up so much. If you're going to do something, it's going to be like a Chikrin, what you're giving back in return. I mean, I really don't think Arizona's going to want like a Tarasenko, quite honestly. Like, we don't need him. It'd be like that'd be like them shipping out like Chikrin and probably Kessel the deadline and bringing back Tarasenko. And it's like, why? Like, we're not doing anything this season that doesn't make any sense. And that'd be like a big FU to Vladdy. I think he has a modified no trade clause, I believe. So
yeah, he's not going to go anywhere he doesn't want to go. But I mean, it's also hard to even move him right now, considering he's leading the team in both goals and points as of tonight over Cairo. So
yeah, I mean, I think if you're picking between those two for something to happen, again, Chikrin's only 23. He's got 3 years left on his deal. I mean, that's going to be a lot of stuff you're giving back. You're talking at least probably, I mean, you could probably argue 2 firsts and an NHL ready guy. You could argue a first and somewhere along the lines of like, I don't think Thomas or Kyrou are really into the conversation for
you can't
moving someone, but like you could maybe potentially be like, I mean, again, I don't think it would be exciting by any means, but you could potentially screw over a Buchnevich. I mean, he's got no trade protection. I mean, you just signed the guy. I mean, if anything, I would say if you have to do something like that, I would say sell high on Barbashev personally. Guy's crazy low cap control, having a career year. He's only signed for 1 more year after this. He's probably going to command $5 million after that deal.
And especially if you want to sign Perron, like you want to keep him around. And
I mean, that's the other thing too. Yeah, Perron. That, I mean, it's like at that point, I mean, I think you can make it happen, but then you're biting the bullet of, I mean, living with a Barbashev being gone and then fitting Chikrin under the cap next year. But I think that if there's a big ticket move, that's probably it.
So I said we were going to move on from the Blues, but we'll touch base real quick. Craig Berube signed an extension. I believe it was 3 more years as the head coach. He seems like the right guy for that locker room. Hard-nosed player back in the day. Obviously, everyone knows that infamous photo of him, I think, playing for the Washington Capitals. He's missing like his entire front row of his teeth. Just a hard ass. I love his coaching style. There's no argument there that he brought that team together during that cup run when he was an interim head coach. He's He's earned his spot there, as far as I'm concerned. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. Yeah. Voice isn't lost in the locker room. 3 years is the right term. Smart signing. Makes sense for both sides. Also got a shout out Bortuzzo, 2-year extension with the Blues. It's crazy to think if Tarasenko goes somewhere, he'll be the longest tenured Blue.
Oh, wow.
Nuts.
Bobby B, good old
yeah.
King Bertuzzo.
Yeah. And then Logan Brown also got a deal here at the Blues as well for next year too, hometown boy. So just a couple of quick updates there. But yeah, I think if we want to just maybe knock out all the update or I guess extension news, really obviously St. Louis boy Pat Maroon, the 2-year extension down there in Tampa, where he's clearly never leaving Tampa Bay, it seems, anymore. So
yeah, he's solidified himself as Florida man. And I mean, he's encompassed it. He's got the big gnarly beard, the long hair. You love to see it. Everybody kind of said his career was dwindling down. I'm sure you can go back and even see me talking about it on this podcast, saying he should retire immediately after winning with the Blues. I was like, yeah, he should go out on top.
And then two more times it's happened.
And I'm an idiot because he could potentially have 4 Stanley Cups before retirement, maybe even 5. It doesn't look like Tampa is going anywhere anytime soon. Even with a weaker bottom 6, they're killing it.
Yeah.
Pat Maroon's doing great. Love to see that, especially for a hometown boy, like you said. Yeah, just you love to see it, and especially when he's grinding, man. He's just a fourth line grinder, and he encompasses everything that the sport is lacking a lot these days. And he can also find the puck and put it in the back of the net, which is very rare. He's kind of almost like a great value Tom Wilson in a sense. Like he's cheaper. He gets nitty gritty. He may not be getting those top line minutes anymore like he was, but like he once was. It's been quite some time, but yeah, he can score those big goals as we saw in Game 7 of Round 2, 2019 against the Dallas Stars, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then while we're on the topic of Tampa Bay, like shout out Corey Perry. Dude's probably gonna get 20 goals on the fourth line. Like that's nuts. He hasn't potted 20 goals since 2015-16 with the Ducks. It's been like 6 years.
And he's league minimum, right? So it's like that kind of shit.
I think it's like a million, but I mean either way.
Yeah.
Like,
that fourth line, I believe, is Corey Perry, Pat Maroon, and Edward Belmar.
I think so. Yeah, $3 million fourth line, which
that's insane.
Yeah, killing it to say the least. I mean,
arguably the best fourth line in the league, I would say currently.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. I mean, like Belmar is like plus 14 as a fourth line guy. That's absolutely nuts.
He wins faceoffs too. I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but I know he leads the league leads the league, but he's up there.
You're not getting any really power play time by any means. And like again, Patrick Maroon is plus 10, Corey Perry is a plus 5, but I mean still it's just like to have a positive fourth line like that. But again, I mean to be fair, they're probably going up against other teams' fourth lines that are far less skilled. So good for them. But yeah, I mean they're making a home down there for sure.
Listen up, goons. Gotta interrupt the podcast to talk about another one of our amazing sponsors, Shortside Co., a hockey apparel and accessory company. Established in 2020, Shortside is a Minnesota-based company with all 4 owners having a combined 25 years of professional hockey experience. All of their tape is made in the USA, tested and certified by NHL players, including Nate Schmidt. We had him on the podcast, so if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and check it out. He's a beauty. All of their products are created by players, for players. Going shortside is a lifestyle. But why go shortside? Well, scoring goals is their passion. There are many variables that come into play in order to score a goal high on the short side, but it all starts with a perfectly executed tape job. After scoring goals in every league from mites to the NHL, they are confident that their product will be a staple in any locker room. For individuals and organizations looking to join the Shortside community, go to www.goshortside.com.
All right, so moving on, let's talk about Boston. The Boston Bruins, Brad Marchand up to his shit again. He gets 6 games for roughing Tristan Jarry, goaltender of the Pittsburgh Penguins. You can see all the videos. He was on a warpath that night. He was stopping Crosby from going to the bench to get a new stick. It started off early in the night with him knocking the puck out of Tristan Jarry's hand or stick while he was trying to give it to a fan. And then, yeah, man, he comes in with that right hook when he's not looking. And as he's getting pulled off the ice, a little stick to face action. First of all, before we go any further with this, I want to commend Yari because he could have oversold every single one of those altercations.
And to be fair, he has quite often lately too, in a lot of other instances.
Okay,
So
yeah, he handled that like a champ. I thought like not going after him after he knocked the puck when he's trying to give it to a fan. That was the first. If that were Binnington, he would have stirred some shit up or like
I think so.
yeah. It's kudos to him for keeping his composure. But 6 games, where do you stand with that? Do you think that's well worth it, or do you think that's a little oversell?
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time he's been suspended? I think I don't think he's technically a repeat offender.
He might not technically be a repeat offender, but I did see somewhere that he now holds the record for the most individual suspensions by a single player in the NHL.
I think I saw something that's not true. I think it might be like modern day, like hockey. I was trying to look that up. I think it's someone has like 13. They've been suspended 13 different times or something.
Tom Wilson. Well, I'm sure Tom Wilson has the most collective games. I mean, maybe Brad Marchand has the most suspensions. Like,
I don't think so. I think Rafi Torres has. He got that. Remember, he got that like 41 game suspension.
is he currently in the league though? I'm talking about
current players.
I think it's current players in the league. I don't think it's anything of the past. I'm sure that there's been more suspensions, but current players in the league, Tom Wilson has got 220 game suspensions that I can think of that were obviously lessened due to appeals. But yeah, I don't know, man. I saw that Brad Marchand has the most individual suspensions, but as you said, he doesn't seem to be a repeat occurrence because I can't remember the last time he got suspended. But yeah, I would say 6 games for this, just because if you go back and you watch the recap of the whole game, he wanted to get tossed from that game, and it took until the last 20 seconds when you're already down 2 goals to be an asshat to get tossed from the game, and now he's actually gonna eat, I believe, $480,000, like $500,000 in his salary, and while his team is fighting for, not fighting for their lives, but definitely in content for a playoff spot. He's going to be sitting out the next 6 games, and he's their leading goal scorer.
So, on this note, so it's interesting. So I just looked this up on Twitter. Someone made a spreadsheet. It's back from starting from November of 2020, basically all the way up to November 2021. Active NHLers and their suspension history. So technically, before the Brad Marchand suspension, Tom Wilson was tied with Evander Kane because of his COVID situation.
Okay.
Talking from actual hurting people, Tom Wilson, but Marchand is at 26 games. Wilson's at 30. So assuming the 6 games suspension is upheld or it's reduced maybe 1 game to 5, Marchand will now have the most games suspended by an active player.
Okay. Sure. So that makes sense. Also, I want to talk about Evander Kane. Obviously, he went to Edmonton. I don't think we've had an episode since that move happened. It might have been a little bit of hearsay at that point. He played San Jose tonight for the first time. I didn't know if he got a tribute video, but I know that every time he touched the puck, the crowd was booing. So you just love to see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to see that right now.
How do you give the guy, dude? I wonder if they just avoided it. If they would have given him a tribute video and people were just booing him and throwing shit on the ice for being such a fucking asshat. I mean, I don't know. Or do you just? I don't know. I would love to see that. So if you guys are listening to this episode and you were at that game, or if you saw any highlights of that, like definitely send it our way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at stuff. Every time he touches the puck, just boos left and right. It's great.
Good, because as we talked about last episode, I believe we said that the Sharks are a better team. Yeah, it was the last episode. They're doing much better. Obviously, they're still fighting for that wild card spot last time I looked. But they look better than they did with Evander Kane in that locker room. There's no arguing that.
Yeah, I mean, shitty as it is to say, right? I mean, their ultimate goal is to win hockey games and win a cup. And you have a guy like that on your team, you deal with the media that comes with it, I guess, and hope it's not a distraction, but we'll see.
And I know Edmonton bit the bullet and brought him on. I think it was $1 million, and for the rest of the year with a full no movement clause.
Yeah.
And last I looked, I think he only had 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists, something like that. So it's not like he's lighting him up. He's not making that huge of an impact. I mean, granted, Edmonton is hot garbage, kind of a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I mean, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4.7 games, nothing crazy. I also found this out too. So he signed like what did he sign? It's such weird how the cap hit works. So he signed a league minimum deal, but had like a 600K signing bonus. I think was prorated, but because the deal was signed mid-season by an unrestricted free agent, it like inflates the cap hit. So like on the cap hit, he has like a $2.1 million cap hit. It's a really, really weird rule because you never really see like mid-season signings by any means. Like it doesn't happen. It's just trades. So like I'm looking at cap friendly, like he has a 2.1 and change cap hit, which is odd. But again, that's a different story. But
let's talk about another mid-season signing in another Boston situation. Obviously, Tuukka Rask signed the same kind of ordeal, around league minimum. I think it was $1 million, and that would be also prorated.
Was it official or was he still on a PTO?
No. I think you have to sign a contract in order to actually play in the NHL, and he wound up playing 4 games. I think he won 2, he lost 2. 2 of them were like huge blowouts, and he decided that his hip just wasn't gonna pull it together. So he officially announced his retirement from professional hockey. I believe he's 36. I thought he still had some gas in the tank.
34.
Yeah,
but
man.
The hip, dude. It's as a goalie too. That's
it's
tough. I mean, anyone really is with skating. It's rough.
Yeah, it's not too much different than Ben Bishop. I know Bishop is a little older than I thought he was, but you hate to see it. Tuukka Rask, arguably going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. He's got a Vezina. He's got a Stanley Cup. I think he retired with the best save percentage. Maybe just in current active goalies, but it's up there among the best. And you hate to see him go out, but one hell of a career.
Yeah, I agree. Rough, but yeah, I mean, sad to see him go. I mean, I think Boston especially thinks it sucks because he technically won a cup with them, but the only cup they won with him, he's on the bench with Tim Thomas, just went absolutely bonkers. Got close.
He won as a backup. I think we talked about this before. He's
a little bit, yeah.
There might be some contention to him going to the Hall of Fame, but arguably one of the best to play, whether you're a Bruins fan or not.
Hey, what's up, everyone? We're interrupting the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast to talk about one of our awesome sponsors. Big Balls Kickball is St. Louis's premier adult kickball league, bringing you the best game in town since 2007. Veteran owned and operated, they strive to bring out the kid in everyone, and they let you let loose and make new friends on that field. Big Balls welcomes players from all walks of life, and they pride themselves on being one of the most inclusive leagues out there. If that's not enough, they also offer Big Balls apparel. That's right, they sell clothing, all that stuff, and it's rad. Me and Tommy have some. We've been rocking them. They go back with the retro designs, back to the 90s, back to your childhood, all of that. So be sure to go and check out Big Balls Kickball at www.stlbigballs.com.
Well, let's keep with the goalie theme, and this is actually a hot topic amongst Twitter today, and that's in the Vegas Golden Knights realm. Frank Saravelli of the Daily Faceoff posted this morning that there were some sort of hint that there would be a reunion between goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury and the Vegas Golden Knights. Basically, the hockey Twitter exploded. People were freaking out. I know that just on my timeline, people were so hyped. You could see the fair weather fans come crawling back, wanting their season tickets. At very least, it's exciting to be a Golden Knights fan because topics like this. But I know you and I had spoke. We've been texting off and on all day, and you don't seem to think it was even ever an option.
I honestly, I think my biggest thing with it, we didn't talk about it, is I don't know if the NHL would allow it. I don't know if they'd even okay the deal. You moved him to Chicago, and then now you want Chicago to retain salary, but maybe trade him to another team as well to retain salary there. So 75% of the contract, or I guess 67% of the contract, whatever the fuck it is retained so you can fit him under the cap. I don't think they'd allow that. I think they'd shoot that down, in my opinion.
They actually would not allow salary retainment if it's just from the Hawks. So if you trade a player to a team within the same calendar year, that team is not allowed to trade him back while retaining salary, but you could involve a third team to be a broker.
Could you involve a third team? Could you involve a fourth team? Where's the limit, right?
Yeah, you can get sketchy with it for sure.
Could you get it down to league minimum on your books for Fleury spread across 5 teams? is that even doable? I don't even know. But I mean, either way, right? I mean, it's just like at that point, the only way it's realistic is if Stone is out long term, if Leonard is out long term, and if Martinez is out long term.
You got to make moves.
Meaning until playoffs. Yeah. Otherwise, if not, you have nothing. Activating Eichel with Stone out right now and Martinez is pretty much like just about every single bit of LTIR relief you have.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't bring him in and like I said, the only way it makes sense is if Leonard's out for the whole season. And if he's not, then you can't do it. There's no way.
And if Leonard's out for the whole season, it is a scary time to be a Vegas Golden Knights fan because you kind of went all in. You know, they're going to hold on to Riley Smith. Presumably, they're not going to trade him now that they got that salary cap relief, sending Stone to the LTIR. I know some people were speculating that they're pulling a Tampa by cap circumvention. Am I using that right? Salary cap circumvention. Is that the term? And the reality is, though, this Stone hasn't been himself this year, and that's because he's been fighting probably something scary as well when it comes to his back. And he's missed 20 games so far. When he's been there, he hasn't been himself. I understand fans are going to be a little upset because he made an appearance at the All-Star game, but let's just be honest here. The All-Star game's not a strenuous competition. It's not anything that's going to hurt a player. It's not full contact. I mean, they didn't even make it out of the first game. And otherwise, the only skills competitions he did, he wasn't on his skates. He was outside. So there's no arguing that he's been dealing with an injury for quite some time. My guess is as soon as the postseason's over, he's going to hit surgery right away. Kind of like what they did with Alex Tuck. It's a surgery that's going to put you out for probably 4 to 6 months. And he doesn't want to be out when they have like their best opportunity yet to potentially win the cup. Now, Leonard's scary, man. That's really scary because Brossoit's been a fine backup, but that's all he's been. And if Leonard has this shoulder injury that he's been dealing with, and they confirmed that it's not the same, but you know, who knows if that's real or not, and if he's really going to be out.
He still hasn't had a great season either. Like, let's be honest. Like, he's been okay at best. And yeah, I mean, having Brossoit, and then, I mean, I feel like in the next month you would know if you're not going to have something, but you'd probably make a deal for another goalie at that point.
And Fleury was the rumor, but it looks like Kelly McCrimmon shot that down very violently in a press conference today. He said, I'm just going to throw this out there right now. It's not happening. I know people are still speculating whether or not he just wants to keep it under wraps so that he can get Fleury back for less. Obviously, these contract negotiations are going to get really hairy over the next couple of weeks before trade deadline, which is March 21st, by the way. I don't know if you remember that or not. They pushed it back.
Right.
I also saw that Georgiev is potentially connected to that. I don't know why the Rangers would move him because they have $35 million in cap. And they're going to be making moves. So they don't need to move the goalie. I know that he's a pending free agent, but I see that the Knights have potentially shown interest in him as well.
I mean, it makes sense. Shesterkin's, assuming he doesn't get injured, is probably winning Vezina. Georgiev is at 2.4 right now on an RFA. So next year you're thinking for sure he's going to get $3 million plus, and then to pay $3 million plus for a backup. Does that make sense? I don't think so.
Right. He's going to want to be a starter, a big gun somewhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think that would make potential sense for sure.
So let's wrap this up. But I feel like it wouldn't be right if we didn't talk about, we got 2 more things I feel like we should bring up, potentially 3. Sidney Crosby, 500th career goal. He's becoming the 46th player in NHL history to do so. Awesome. He's been doing great. I mean, that team looks awesome this year, wouldn't you say?
I mean, for what injuries they've had, I mean, they look like the Penguins of the last decade, I feel like. Fun fact, 500 goals for Crosby. 50 of those have been scored against the Flyers. So 10% of his goals in his career have come against just Philadelphia, which is nuts.
Yeah. And if you're a Pens fan, you love to see it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially they came back down like 4-2 tonight to win in overtime.
We didn't talk about that. We're going to bring up Flyers. You know, Giroux, he's a pending free agent as well. And, you know, rumor has it that he's expressed interest in either going to, what was it, the Colorado Avalanche, the Minnesota Wild, or the St. Louis Blues. I don't know why the Blues would need him, but that name was dropped in.
If there's a team that makes sense, I think, with cap especially, it's the Wild. in my opinion.
Yeah.
I just think you have to move pieces or bring in that third party to retain salary crap to make it work. I just don't know if that's going to happen. So, I mean, I think there's a team that has the cap space that can do it. Maybe some salary retention. I think right off the bat from just the Flyers would be the Wild. And I mean, for what they are, they're looking good. I mean, I think they're better. I mean, they're good. I think they're better than I expected personally. Will they make a deep playoff run? Is this the year for them to do it? Don't necessarily see it with Talbot and net.
Yeah, so. I was gonna say their goaltending is still their issue. That we've expressed that enough. Talbot doesn't seem to be the guy for them, and no matter how exciting they move towards with having Kaprizov, and if they add Giroux and they get these goals from these guys that are third and fourth line grinders, I mean, it's still not going to make up for who's in net. Yeah. So Tyler Toffoli to the Flames. Seems that the Calgary Flames are all in. Exciting, but here's my argument. I can't help but think about another team that went all in, bought at the deadline, kept a couple of star players and didn't move them for any pieces, and that was the Columbus Blue Jackets, holding on to Panarin, holding on to Bobrovsky, and now their future is fucked, right?
Which is ironic because the Flames are actually playing the Blue Jackets in Toffoli's debut. Funnily enough, like 30 seconds ago, he just scored in his debut. So
okay,
good. He's off to a good start. A good start. But I mean, I think I don't necessarily look at it as an all-in move. I look at it as a Johnny Gaudreau's probably walking, and this is our insurance policy. If we can keep him, great. We figure it out. If we can't, we got something to somewhat replace his production. That's what I view it as.
But they're not going to move Gaudreau now at the time at trade deadline because you're going to want to hold on to him. Obviously, he's a pending UFA with 58 points in 45 games. It's funny how when these guys are playing for a contract, they seem to find the back of the net, right?
I mean, that's good motivation for anybody, I think. But I mean, yeah, why would you want to move him anyway? You're challenging for the division. Like, you're in a good spot to make a run. I mean, Markstrom's been playing nuts. He has 7-8 shutouts.
Yeah, at least 8.
Guy's nuts. And yeah, I mean, you're not trading anyone. They're not in a spot to trade. They're in a spot to make a run this year. And they started off in a spot where it looked like the same old Flames, just not really doing a whole lot. And they've come on hard here, I think, midway point. And yeah, I mean, with where they're at, I think makes complete sense to get Toffoli to have that insurance policy. They're able to fit him under the cap. And I think this is the team you have, and you're going to ride it out and see what happens. I think that's where you're at, because I think next year Gaudreau is pretty much gone no matter what, because Matty Tkachuk is up. That's going to probably push you, assuming he stays there. Greg, he's an RFA. Odds are he's going to. Maybe pulls a Brady Tkachuk and holds out he did. You're probably getting 10 mil, 9 mil for Tkachuk, and then you're already pretty much at the cap at that point. I mean, I guess take that back. With Gaudreau off the books, then you have 4 mil left.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more if Zadorov doesn't get re-signed.
You can find a second or third line guy to maybe fill the void for goals. But Johnny Gaudreau is on pace for over 100 points this year. And although he is known to disappear in the postseason, some team's going to pay out the ass for him, I'm sure. I mean, any team's going to come calling for Johnny Hockey. I mean, he's going to have a place on a team. And if he can go to a contender, he definitely can contribute. So yeah, let's wrap up this episode. Jack Eichel making his Vegas Golden Knights appearance tomorrow here in Las Vegas against the Colorado Avalanche. I'm assuming Brossoit is going to be in net because Leonard's hurt. So that's the only drawback, except for he's having a good year. He's having pretty good. But dude, I'm excited. This is something that's been talked about for quite some time, and dude, I know Jack Eichel is definitely eager to get out there and start making a difference on this team.
Yeah, I was looking up if there are any prop bets available yet. I don't see anything at the moment, but I'm assuming there's probably going to be Will Eichel. Actually, hang on, there might.
If he will if one of them's a point, just a freaking point, you got to be an idiot not to take that all day.
I'm trying to see if there's an option on it. I don't think there's anything at the moment. Yeah, nothing right now. Probably come out tomorrow. But I mean, yeah, there's some sites out there that'll let you choose over under on points, shots, goals, assists, all that stuff. So that'll be something to look at. It'll probably be minus 150 or something. It'll be amazing odds, but I think it'll be something to look at if you want to maybe potentially cash in.
He's gonna come out swinging because that dude is he's been hungry now for almost 2 years to play hockey.
Look at the books tomorrow and let me know if that's a thing. I'm just curious what the odds are going to be on it, like if it's goals or points or whatever. I'm curious what they have them at.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Make sure you go back and watch our most recent episode with AJ Galante at the Danbury Trashers. Like I said, amazing interview, so much fun. Got to chat with him at the Chicklets Cup a couple weekends ago. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that great stuff. And hit us up. Do you have anything you want to end on?
No, let's start doing these more often, consistently. I think that's the only thing I want to say.
Yeah.
We say it every time, but fuck, life, dude, life.
Right. And I appreciate you guys. We both appreciate you sticking with us now because we've been doing this. We're coming up on 60 episodes. It's probably been about, I'd say at least 4 NHL. Well, you know what? We started this
3.5
right before the Blues won.
3+ playoffs, I think.
Didn't we start this right before the Blues made a playoff run, or they won?
It was like middle of that year, so it's like 3.5 plus playoff run. Then
So we're not saying that our names should be on the cup, but we're also saying our names should probably be on the cup. But thank you guys so much, and cheers, everybody.
Later, guys.